welcome to this episode of the Martial Truth Podcast, my interview with Jeff Perkins. Jeff Perkins is a longtime practitioner of Isshin-Ryu Karate, studied with some very senior people, multiple trips to Okinawa, still a current student of Tokumoto Kensho in Tokushin-Ryu, Kobudo, police officer, so very interesting guy. So I asked him to come on. He was very nice enough to come on, and we did an interview. So I hope you enjoyed that. We've passed the 18,000 subscriber mark. Appreciate you all. Channel continues to grow, slow and steady, which is the way I want it. Again, all the members that contribute monthly, I really appreciate it. It helps cover some stuff, and everything's going great. Please, if you like the videos, click the like, share the podcast, subscribe. It's important. All right, the subscriptions help a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next month, the seminar with Walt Young on Uhukuchikuden Kobujitsu in Virginia. There's only a couple of spots left, so if you're interested, you better jump on it. And I'll be there with 4 of my students, so it should be pretty good. And without further ado, let's talk to Jeff Perkins. So, Jeff Perkins, welcome to the Martial Truth Podcast.
Thanks, Mike.
So me and Jeff know each other a long time. We won't say how long because that'll just confirm exactly how old we both are. So Jeff is a longtime practitioner of Isshin-Ryu Karate, a senior dan in that. He's a longtime practitioner of Tokushin-Ryu Kobudo under Tokumura Sensei, who I hung out for half a day with on my recent trip to Okinawa. Very senior in that. And he's also retired law enforcement like myself. And I thought he'd be a good guy to have him on because of his varied martial arts experience. So, Jeff, why don't you fill people in on who you started with in Isshin-Ryu and how everything kind of went?
Okay. Well, I started like a lot of guys did back in the Bruce Lee era, watching those Bruce Lee movies and got really interested. I was a high school athlete and I played football and I swam. Kind of a weird combination, but I just started getting interested. And then I found out my soon-to-be brother-in-law was a brown belt in Isshin-Ryu under Doug Noxon.
Oh, okay, sure.
And his name's Ed Babbitts. And so my last senior year, I decided not to do any sports. And I started learning a little bit of karate. Started off in a self-defense class with Ed and another guy named Kurt Schulk out of the Noxon's dojo.
Okay.
And this is probably late 71 and 72. So me and my buddies from the athletics at the high school, I got about 10 or 15 of them. We did these self-defense classes with these 2 crazy people. And all they did is let us beat each other up, actually. You leave there with contusions on your chest because they showed you a little bit about blocking and striking, and you get these A-type personality athletes and they just want to pound each other.
Right.
But I don't know, I had an affinity for it at the time. I just really enjoyed it. And I went to my brother-in-law and said, I'm gonna join the dojo. He's like, why? I'm like, I don't know, I'm just interested. So when I joined, it amazes me how some of these people know exactly the day that they started. I have no clue.
Yeah, I know the month I started. I know around the day I started, but I do not know the exact. I know the month for sure, but I do not know the exact day I started. I couldn't tell you the day I got promoted to Shodan. I couldn't tell you actually the dates of any of my promotions. I don't know any of them.
I know my Shodan promotion, but I just know. Actually, I thought it was 73 because I joined the dojo, and I started entering local tournaments as a white belt. Actually, what back then the white belt was an orange belt too. So I had an orange belt, and so I love to spar because that's what we mainly did at the Inkster. We call it the Inkster School. It was in Inkster, Michigan. Just as a side note, when I started, Doug Noxon already passed away.
Okay.
And so who owned the dojo was Norbert Donnelly.
Oh, sure.
And Norbert had 2 dojos, one in Inkster, Michigan, one in Kegel Harbor. I was like, that's his uptown dojo. We're the downtown kids,
Right.
So we did a lot of fighting. It didn't seem like my instructors knew a lot about kata and stuff.
Well, it's funny. I mean, when I started too, it was the same thing. There was a lot of fighting. it was a lot of
Yeah.
sparring, just the way it was back then.
And then we, as a white belt, I'm fighting black belts, and they're not trying to take it easy on you. So when I started entering white belt tournaments, it was like almost a joke. I'm
Right.
fending for my life with these black belts every week, and I get these fresh white belts, and it was amazing. So, like the first year, I started really competing with 73, and then I won the Michigan State Championships in white belt kumite, and then the Detroit Championships in white belt kumite. And so when I went back to, with everybody trying to find out when they started, I mean, I was a poor kid. We didn't have cameras. There's no pictures from back then. I mean, I have no idea the day I started. My mom brought me down there, and so I was going by the trophy, and the trophy said 1973. So I kept telling people, well, I started in 73 because that's
Right.
the only proof I have.
Right.
But there was a guy that was at the dojo, a senpai to me, a guy named Carl Prather. And later, when I started running a dojo, he came to one of our Christmas parties, and I'm talking to him, and I mentioned that I started in '73. He goes, "No, you didn't." I go, "How do you know that?" He said, "I just know that." He says, "Well, what rank was John Nichols? You know John Nichols
Right.
Senior. What rank was John Nichols when you were there?" I said, "He was a brown belt." Well, his date of showdown was blah 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 1972. I
Right.
went, "Oh, okay. I guess it's '72 when I was there."
Right.
But that's how I got my start, was over at the Inkster School. And Norbert then sold that dojo to Lloyd Russett, the guy from Canada.
Okay.
And for some reason, I didn't really feel comfortable. I just left and started training on my own with a bunch of friends of mine, and we trained pretty consistently. But you know, uh, I just didn't feel like being there. And then later on, I found out that a lot of the guys left after that
Right.
and started, going on their own or to some other dojo. And then has it be, I'm a uniform patrol cop, and I go to a neighbor trouble run, and it's Sam Santilli. You know Sam?
Yeah, sure.
Sam Santilli's parents fighting with the neighbor, and Sam's there. And I've known him since I was 16,
Right.
because I used to hang around with my instructor, Ed Babbitts, and Sam would be there, and Bob White. I go to their dojos and train a little bit. So he kept saying, "Come on down to the dojo and train. I got a dojo in Canton, Michigan." I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm doing
Right.
fine. And he kept bugging me, and he goes, "Do you know your weapons?" I said, "No." He said, "You come down and teach your weapons." I thought, "Oh, okay. I'll do that." So I went down there pretty much to learn my weapons. It's probably in the early 80s. I think it was right before I went to narcotics. So I had to be about 83-ish. And then I started going there, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working out again, sparring with people a lot, and learning my weapons, relearning my katas pretty much. And I stayed there for probably till about 1990. I started reading about this amazing first generation man, AJ Advicula,
Right.
and writing them all these letters and questions. And
Well, that's when we first met, right? It's the early 1990s.
yeah, yeah,
Because
uh,
I was going out to whatchamacallit, to Oceanside too, for his events and other things. And you'd be out there along with a bunch of other people. Right, some years Wolfgang Gilson was out there.
yep,
Sherman Harrell was out there. So yeah, that's where we initially met, at AJ Advincula, either seminars or actually out there when he hosted his seminars.
yeah. And then I just decided, that I wanted to see what first generation Isshin-Ryu looked like, because I had no idea what generation I was learning,
Right,
because
right,
under Sam, we were under Willie Adams too.
right,
So I used to go to Willie's Detroit dojo, Dexter and Davison, which was a real bad neighborhood,
right,
and fight with those guys and work out with them in the mornings, and then go to work in the afternoon. And so it was one of Willie's dojos, and I just got inquisitive about it, and so finally, in the meantime, between all that, I started training with a guy named Roy Osborne in Isshinryu,
okay,
Okinawa Isshinryu, and he opened my eyes to some things. Like I just, when I was around him, and he trained under Oyata and under Kisei, and I felt like a white belt again. It was like
right,
I mean, I feel so low down to the ground. How do I get up there
Right.
to where he's at? And my brain said, well, work out with him, train with him. And that's what I did. So I started side training in Shirinji, and it's very similar to Isshin-Ryu. It's just done a little differently. The same
Yeah,
katas.
sure. Are we talking the Shirinji, whatchamacallit, that comes from the Kion, Shotoko Kion also?
It is, but it's not Nakazato Joen's.
Oh, no, no, I know that. I know the one because I interviewed the guy. I interviewed one of the senior guys of that art for the channel. And
Kisei apparently was training with a guy who was training with a guy who trained with Shimabuku
yeah, it was a
back in the
guy by the
day.
name of Corey Hisataka, I think, was the founder of that branch of Shirinjiru. I think that because they do a vertical fist punch in a lot of their stuff.
Oh no, it's not that Japanese version.
Oh,
Kisei did Shirinji.
okay. So there might be a couple of different
Yeah.
people them using the name Shirinji because these guys came from Okinawa too because they directly to Kion. The guy was a direct student of Kion. Eventually, he moved to Japan, but he was Okinawan and trained with Kion on Okinawa.
This
So
guy had some training under Tatsu,
okay,
uh, that Kisei's teacher, but then he started training with Zenro Shimabuku,
okay,
who called his art back
right,
in the day
right,
as Shorinjiru. And but there was a lot of amazing influences in Roy's karate with Oyata and stuff too. So I was just overwhelmed. So that was my first trip into Bunkai, was learning
right.
from him. And he kind of was from the school of Bunkai hard knocks, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the only way to get it.
Yeah.
You
And he'd
know.
always tell me, it was never vicious.
Right.
And he would always say, I have to show you this.
Right.
And then he'd give you a whack.
Right.
And I know people around here wouldn't even come near him. They said, "Oh, he's just he just trains. He hits people too hard. It's not good." I'm like, he's not trying to hurt people. He's just trying to show you.
Right.
And so I still trained with him up like 40 years. I got a seventh dan in his Isshinryu.
Okay.
I used to have more katas of his, but he never had me change my Isshinryu katas because they were the same. Wansu,
Right.
Seisan.
Right.
I picked up on it, Ku, Pasai Dai, Goju Shiho, and then he was fine with it. And he even let me at one point just do the vertical fist. He's like, I don't care.
Right.
But later on, when I started getting more experience with him, he's like, maybe 3/4 would be better. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So yeah, that led into the Vicula era, and I stayed with him until like 2008, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about first generation Isshin-Ryu. I still do my katas like AJ, and grateful for what he taught me.
Yeah, I mean, I studied with many of the first generation guys. Obviously Vinkler being one. Sherman Harrell was at my dojo multiple times. Trained with Harold Mitchum, Harry Ackland, Walt Van Gilson. Walt Van Gilson a couple of times showed up at seminars I was teaching, which that was like I literally was like, Sensei. Like one of my guys comes up to me and goes, Sensei, I think that's Walt Van Gilson over there. I look and it's Walt Van Gilson with students. I go over, I goes,
I met him at AJ's. I liked him.
oh, he's great. He was great. I mean, taken far, far too early, right?
Yeah,
Um, and he knew a lot of stuff. I mean, he was just someone that kept a lot of stuff close to the vest, unless he knew you a little better. But my thing, I think I've come to realize now, closing in on 50 years in Isshinryu, is the first generation guys are great. We owe them, without question, we owe them a debt because if they didn't bring it back, we're not sitting here even discussing Isshinryu.
yeah,
But I also realized that they brought back, let's just say, an outline of Isshinryu. They didn't really bring back a
yeah. I
complete
agree.
a complete system. When I went to train with Kichido the first time in 1991, one of the things he said to me was a couple of things that was surprising. One was he told me, go out and train with everyone that's better than you and make your own strong Isshinryu. That's what he said. I had never ever heard a senior sensei, like my first sensei in Isshinryu, would have never said that. He always said, there's nobody else that can teach you like I can teach you. You don't need to
Right.
go anywhere else. Here's the headmaster saying, literally said to me, Mike, if there's things I do you like, you do them. If there's some things I do you don't like, don't do them. Right. And, so he set me on that path. And even at that first meeting with him in Okinawa, I mean, I already knew him, but the first time I was with him in Okinawa, he said to me too, I asked him about the kumiwaza for the Kobudo. I said, is it the Bobo and Bosai that, the Marines made that I see everybody doing Isshinryu? And he goes, oh, that's okay. He says, but change it. And I was like, wait a second, change something. We're not allowed to change anything. That's like sacrilege. We can't. And he said to me, he says, no, change the techniques. He said, that's okay to start with, but you got to substitute it. And it's interesting because I know in Mariyoshi Kobudo, if you go to the various dojo in Okinawa, all the kumi drills are different because each dojo kind of does their own kumi drill, which I think as an instructor is great because it
Yeah.
forces you to work this thing instead of just, oh, this is the drill and just work it. No, make a drill, create a drill yourself. And I've given a couple of my students in the past assignments. Okay, create a Bodor bow fighting drill, and let me know when you're done with it. And then I look at it, maybe I tweak it a little bit, but so again, I credit those first generation guys for bringing it back to us. And obviously, not all of them were created equal either. But I think it's on us now to kind of get into a deeper dive in Isshinryu. And I don't know how you feel, but I see a lot of guys just not doing that. I see a lot of
Yeah.
guys just mimic, going through the motions. They
Oh, I
do
do too.
basically kata and kumite.
Roy Osborne, my sensei from Shrinji, he calls them tombstones
Yeah,
because he taught a lot of people around Michigan and they really haven't adapted his stuff. So, I mean, I show his stuff. And as you know, I train with Sherman Harold too, because I
right,
went to your seminars,
right,
in New
right.
York. And so I had a lot of training with Sensei there. And, we have not, I hate to see, I don't say any of Bunkai's advanced. It's just different.
Yeah, yeah. It's what you can do, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you're physically at a point where your skill set is higher, what seems very advanced to someone that doesn't have that skill set yet, of course it's going to be hard for them to do.
Yeah.
But I agree, there's no advanced techniques. As you get better, you should be able to do stuff that's more difficult and make
Yeah.
that stuff look easy.
We
That
got 3 levels at the dojo for all of even our weapons.
Yeah,
We start off with that round robin bunkai, doing
right,
the
yeah,
actual kata.
yeah,
And then we do what we call a kumite, where you do the same kata and the same opposite side because we've enhanced the other side to just not be a kill drill for the kata guy,
right,
We
right.
turn it into an actual fight.
It's funny. I did the same thing. Like, so for instance, in one of my Mariyoshi Kobudo drills, so my Kobudo sensei got Kia sensei. He showed a bow side drill, but it was kind of short. Bow Twifa drill, kind of short. Bow Nunchaku, kind of short. So he goes back to Okinawa. I decide I'm going to add to it. So I add to it. The next time he comes back to the New York school, I said, Sensei, I changed the Kobudo drills. I would like you to watch them. And, he watched them and he said, oh, good. He said the nunchaku was a little dangerous, so just be careful. But on like a couple of the drills, I made the guy you're fighting do an Isshinryu bow technique that we don't necessarily do in Mariyoshi. And it's funny when the Mariyoshi guys, I teach them that because they're not used to that technique. They have a hard time with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think the guy who you're fighting, if it's two guys fighting with weapons, I think it's common sense that they both have to have training.
Yeah.
Why would a
Oh,
guy
yeah.
fight with Twifa if he doesn't know how to use them? I mean,
Yeah.
like
Well,
so.
we have these 3 levels we call them. So we start off with that round robin bunkai, and then we do a kumite where you're doing the exact same thing. You got to get the footwork. I'm really particular about getting the footwork right to make it like the kata, but with two
Right.
guys doing a drill. And then when I was down at the IHOF one time helping somebody with their seminar, and we developed this Renzoku Kumite, where now I get to play a little more with the Sherman Harold and Roy Osborne stuff.
Right.
And so, I'm a firm believer. I don't like to change anything to, change my Isshin-Ryu too much. But if I can make up drills that enhance it, but then add the things I learned from other people, I think that's a good thing. So we got those 3 levels that we play with, when we're doing bunkai. Um, I mean, I really like it, and I forgot to get to the part, but as you said I studied Kobudo. AJ introduced me to Tokumer Kensho and Iha Kotaro of Rukonkai.
Right.
And basically, I know Iha hates this, but Basically, Rukon Kai is Matsuyoshi Kobudo.
Right, right.
And so I'd say
But
that to
got
him,
a
and he would,
little different flavor.
yeah.
But yeah,
Every
but
time I'd say that to him, though, he'd get mad.
yeah, but Iha Kotaro is in his own right is a very high level Kobudo master.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
mean,
learned a
so
lot from him too. I
yeah,
learned a lot
so
from him.
yeah,
We still do his katas. We still
yeah,
we still do have a day where we do Rukon Kai. And so it just came to a point in Okinawa. It was so frustrating going from one dojo to the other, and then you know how instructors can get. Even in Okinawa, they get a little ticked off if they find out they're learning from somebody else, and I'd get confronted, and I just tell them I like all Kobudo. You know, I'm not trying to do anything wrong. I'm just I like all Kobudo, and so at one point though it got pretty hot and heavy, and so I had to make a choice. And I mean, Iha Kotaro was a great instructor, but Tokumura was always family.
yeah,
And
and
I chose family.
yeah, and I don't know how you feel, but as I've gotten older, I just don't want to deal with the bullshit.
No, not at all.
I want to work out, I want to train, I want to do this dopey podcast, have fun talking to you or whoever else I'm talking to. I want to do what I can to help these arts, but I just don't want to deal with this drama.
I know. That's one of my sayings in a dojo. So we get a
Yeah,
new
man.
person. I'm like, I don't like drama. No
Yeah,
drama in the dojo.
yeah.
Period.
I get to Okinawa, right? Before I go to Okinawa, I'm in touch with McCarthy. And McCarthy says, do you want to go see Tokumura? I said, I'd love to see Tokumura, right? And so the first day I'm there, I go with McCarthy into Naha and I walk over to James Pankowitz's dojo. And I thought it'd be closed. McCarthy had an appointment with his wife. So he says, meet us back here, whatever. And I went off and walking, put the dojo in my Google, walked, found it. And they had a class going on. So I didn't want to interrupt. I'm standing outside. I'm just watching, right? And someone walked out, and then Dan Antonson walked out. Dan's an eighth Dan in Goju, and I forget what Dan he is in Ryukyu Kobudo. But he had picked me up at the airport the night before. So he walks out, and I go, "Big boy, you're everywhere, huh?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Come in. Everybody wants to meet you, right?" And so I walked in. I met James's Isshinryu instructor and James and a bunch of other people. And they were really nice. And but when I went back to McCarthy, McCarthy says we're meeting Tokumura this afternoon. So we went to Tokumura's dojo, right? And went in, and he's looking at me. He remembered me, and then it hit him. He goes, "Oh, 1990 something by Advincula." I go, "Yeah, that's where we met." He's, "Oh, now I remember, right?" And he pulled out some pictures, right? And he was nice enough. He let me take photos of all his old Isshin-Ryu photos, and so we talked for quite a while. Just me, him, and McCarthy. With McCarthy, that's great because he can translate.
Mhm.
But Tokumura's English is pretty good. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
we can communicate. It's not like it was tough. And then McCarthy said to him, "Hey, let's go out to lunch." And he's like, "Oh, I don't." I said, "Come on, Sensei. I'm not here that often. Come on, let's go out to lunch." And we went to this really nice seaside restaurant, and we had lunch and had a great day. And when we went back, we hugged and we hugged when I left. And he goes, "Okay, next time we do Kobudo." I said, "All right, Sensei." And if I go back, I will do Kobudo, right?
Yeah.
Because he made the invitation, and and why not? Why wouldn't I do Kobudo? You
Yeah.
know. But I just liked, again, at this point in my life, I like just spending time with these guys that I think are good guys. Like
Yeah.
he's a good guy, right? So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and
I don't
so
know of
yeah,
anybody who's never met Tokumura that doesn't really like him. I mean, he's just so likable.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's a nice guy. He's just a
And I
really
get
nice
these guys
guy.
that always say, "Oh, you travel with him and you're with him all the time, his senior student, blah, blah, blah. And that must be so great." I say, "Hey, man, I'm just a roadie for a rock star. That's all I
Right,
am.
right,
I carry his bags, I get him lunch, I take care of him." I
right,
said, "He's the rock star."
right.
But
So
yeah, it's we just got back from a trip last October. It was kind of a short one, but yeah, we plan on going back. I don't think Sensor's going to be traveling here too much anymore.
how old is he now?
84,
Okay,
but his wife passed a little while back. But he gave us a little scare over here. One of the groups went over there and were taking pictures with him. He just didn't look right. So
right,
we all kind of freaked out, and I'm really close with Lars Anderson.
sure.
he's our European head, and
Yeah, Lars came to the IWK Championships in 2019. I hosted in
yeah,
London. So yeah, Lars
yeah,
is a
we
great
were
guy.
like him and I are like brothers. I
Yeah,
mean, he's a cop, and I mean,
yeah.
we just had the same attitude, and so he was worried too. So I didn't know if my phone, my text or email would reach out to Tokumura's family because I had their contacts. And before you know it, I get something back from his daughter, Masami, and pictures of Sensei, in a video saying, "I'm okay. Thanks for being concerned." And,
Right,
I'm just an old man, blah, blah,
right.
blah. We're like, oh God. So now that I know I have this constant contact with Masami through text, Tokumura just became a great great grandfather. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that. That's
Yeah,
great.
his daughter Chiyuki is married.
You have
And
any grandkids?
who, me?
Yeah,
Oh, I got three.
three. I got four.
They're great. You can get
Oh
them
my
back.
God. I just started teaching. I've been teaching the boys for 2 years. The two granddaughters just started 2 weeks ago.
Mine
So,
are older. My oldest one's 21. She was
okay.
a volleyball phenom. She's about 6'1",
Okay.
and she was a blocker and a slammer, and
Okay.
she got a scholarship out east.
My son's wife went on a full ride for volleyball, and they offered her to play professionally in Europe, but she didn't want to do it.
Well, she just walked away from it because she wants to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And so she didn't like the way they handled their pre-law over there. It was all online. So she's back here, back to Michigan, and she got accepted at Michigan State and U of M. She chose U of M. So she started yesterday
Nice.
in the
Nice.
pre-law. So
Yeah.
yeah, and the other one's still in high school. The little one, my middle one, and she's playing volleyball. And my grandson he plays football, tackle football. He loves it.
My grandson, the 7-year-old, just played his first tackle scrimmage last week. So we're going up to Prescott in 2 weeks to see the first game. So
That's great.
yeah, it's great. It's very because I don't know if you know, but both my sons were very high level athletes. My
Yeah, I
younger
know.
son was drafted by the Atlanta Braves.
Right.
My oldest son was the captain of his college baseball team. My oldest son's a Phoenix cop,
Oh,
so
really?
he's a police officer almost 10 years already. But anyway, it's a very different dynamic rooting for your own kid
Yeah.
and rooting for your grandkid. It's much more relaxed rooting for the grandkid. When it was my sons, it was a lot more. There was more intensity. Now it's like, it's just the grandkids. Now it's intense for my son, who's actually coaching him. He does a lot of the coaching. So, but it's just funny.
Yeah. I mean, I love watching plays.
Oh, it's great.
I started little league football back in sixth grade tackle,
Yeah,
and I see these kids out there, just brings back memories,
yeah,
makes me
it's great.
smile.
It's just great. Yeah,
I mean, how people are about contact nowadays.
yeah,
I'm glad that my daughter and my son-in-law decided to let him play tackle. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's
My
good for him.
son
He
and
likes
daughter-in-law
it.
made the same decision. They played flag football first.
That's what he did. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're starting tackle. And look, the equipment is so much more advanced now.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Do you remember I mean, I never played organized, but I had a football helmet and shoulder pads. We used to play, believe it or not, in where I lived in New York, we used to play in the cemetery because we had these cemeteries all around us and there'd be big open green grass. So we'd go in there, we'd play hardball, we'd play tackle football. But half the guys didn't have equipment, right?
Yeah.
It's like the little rascals playing
I
football.
played all the way through my junior year of high school, and back in the day, I mean, we used to use our helmets as a spear,
Yeah.
constant.
Yeah. And
And I
those
remember,
helmets aren't the helmets they're using now.
oh, and I had one guy went to one of my class reunions, and he goes, "Hey, you were a quarterback," and I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "And you used to hit people with your helmet?" I go, "Yeah, that's what we did back then."
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I mean, I don't know how many concussions we had back then.
Yeah.
It's not like the knowledge they have now, but we took a few hits.
I'll tell you a funny story. I'm sitting in San Diego with Gakia Sensei, Yamashiro Sensei, and Itakazu Sensei, all from Mariyoshi Kobudo. And seminar's over, and it's Super Bowl weekend. So the guy sets up a big screen for everybody to watch Super Bowl. So they're sitting behind me, about 5 rows back, the Okinawans. I'm up there. All right, watching the game. All of a sudden, Michael, Gakia. Yes, Sensei. Michael, okay? Okay? No, Sensei, that's not okay. Oh, and they're talking in Japanese. Huh? What do you mean? Why isn't that okay, right? Then 10 minutes later, Michael, okay? No, Sensei, that's not okay. It's no, no, no good. Oh, well, and it was like two or three other things they asked about, and it's just funny because
It
obviously I
probably
hadn't.
looks like that to them. That
Yeah,
they're
it
just beating each
probably
other up.
does, but it's just funny because they hadn't really seen that much football, right, in Japan.
Yeah,
Football is not really big in Japan, right? But it's interesting as martial artists, them thinking, "Oh, this is probably illegal. They're hitting each other so hard, you can probably do anything you want." Yeah, no, no, they can't. But it was funny. It was funny watching it with those guys and getting their impression of what they were seeing, you know.
yeah,
So, and so how's your dojo going?
real good. We got a club, I call it, because nobody makes any money. I
Yeah,
mean,
listen, I don't know if you know,
it,
like I'm sitting in my dojo right now, and I built a building. Well, I had a building built and delivered to my property. So I have an acre and a quarter out here in Arizona. So I mean, it's a dojo. It's fixed up like people walk in and they can't believe, but I don't have a lot of students. I mean, I'm in a little bit rural area. I don't care. I don't have any rent. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So, the way we set it up was with my wife was on board, is we have a lot of people that fly out here and they'll stay for a week and we have a set fee. I pick them up at the airport. We feed them. They stay with us at the house, and we come out and train as much as they want. So I got actually one guy arriving Wednesday. I got another guy arriving Friday. Um, it depends. Some people come out to train Isshin-Ryu with me. Some people come out to train Kobudo, Tai Chi. Depends on, I teach a bunch of different arts. So it depends on who's coming in. But it's been great. And now that I'm retired, I mean, how long are you retired from law enforcement?
oh, 2011 I left. I had 36 and a half years.
So I'm out going to be 16 years in April. So I retired a year before you
Yes,
because again in New York it's 20, but I did
yeah.
almost 23.
But they pulled me back in. I'm back teaching at the police academy.
Well, that's all right as long teaching's one thing, going out on patrol is another.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Plus, I
and
get to pick my own days. I don't have to go there if I don't want.
right.
And then I teach guns for the local. It's owned by the local college,
Okay.
and then I teach firearms for them,
Okay.
uh, security police, and all sorts of different things. So
Nice.
I'm back in it, but I'm having fun.
Right. I was teaching when I retired. As soon as I retired, the police commissioner for Floral Park, we had our own police force. He came in and said, one of my black belts was a cop there, and he said to me, he says, "Oh, I hear you this, you're FBI defensive tax instructor, you have all this experience. We'd like you to train our cops." And I said, "Sure," and because they were my local cops. I didn't charge that much, and so I did that for several years. I would even help sometimes with some of the firearm stuff. And he would just ask me, he's going, "Mike, I want you to be an observer. I want you to give me your opinion on if you think this training is good or we need to tweak things." So I would do that. I had a great relationship with them. And he was a former full inspector on the NYPD. So when he
Oh, good.
retired, he became the commissioner. He's still the commissioner there. So yes, I stayed in a little bit too. I just had a guy reach out and ask me if I'd be willing to come and do a law enforcement seminar. I said, sure. But like I tell other people, I believe it when I get the plane ticket.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm at a point in my life. If
I'm
you
the
want me to,
same way. I get that all the time. So
yeah,
I said,
yeah,
we do a seminar? Yeah.
yeah,
We'll bring you out. Okay.
yeah.
Hold
And
my
then
breath.
nothing. Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'm at a point where I don't care.
I don't
Like,
either.
yeah, I mean, I come out here. I will tell you, one of the things that I really reconnected with when I came out here was training myself, working on my craft. In New York, I'm teaching 7 days a week, right? And yeah, I trained extra, but I really couldn't devote the time to me. And now out here, I'm out here every day training, every day. I only have classes 3 days a week. I do a lot of Zoom classes, and I do Zoom classes all over the world, right? But I'm out here training myself, and I
I'm
think it's
still
great.
training 5 days karate and Kobudo and 2 days still in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I do
and
kettlebell out here. I do that kind of stuff. Out here in Arizona, obviously hiking's a big deal. Not now because it's 1,000 degrees out, but in another couple of weeks when the temperature starts dropping, we start doing some hiking. Yeah. I mean, that's
I
the
get
one
my
thing.
I get my Isshinryu and my Kobudo training in on the deck with my students.
Yeah,
I train right alongside them,
yeah,
and
I do that too.
they're
Yeah,
always shocked as to what I can pick up in the mirrors when
yeah,
they're making mistakes. They're, how do you
yeah.
see that? I go,
Right,
I just do.
right.
And
Well,
I'm
they don't
training right
understand it.
alongside them. I'm
Yeah,
not the I'm not the
right.
sensei with my thumbs in the OB on the sideline.
Listen, man. My students. The joke from my students would always be, "Sensei, you're never going to make eighth dan because you're not fat enough."
I know.
I mean, so I'm out here. I do the same thing. I mean, I got teenagers. I'm training with them. Even the little kids. If only one little kid shows up, I pair off with them. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't care. Yeah, I work out myself. I think it's important. I also think it's important they see me train. Like, how am I setting an example if I'm not training with them?
Oh, exactly.
I mean, come on. And we all know, we've seen it. A lot of the senior guys, they start becoming counters and just observers. They're not training.
Yeah. But you
I mean,
know
it's
what?
obvious
I
just
think
looking at them.
part of mine is the fear of not being able to get back into it if I stop, and
Well, yeah, you can't
I
stop.
mean, I don't know how old are you, Mike?
I'm going to be 62 in a week.
I just turned 69.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And I train more than anybody at the dojo. I train
Yeah.
like hell.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got a lot of injuries, but I just train through them,
Listen,
you
I got
know?
a bad left knee. There's nothing I can do about it. It's something I was born with. The kneecap sits on a weird angle, so I got all kinds of arthritis in there. I'm still doing jump spinning back kicks on the bag. I just do what I do. And if I wake up, I overdo it and it hurts one day, I say, okay, today I'll just take it a little easier. But yeah, I'm training all the time. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you, now a bunch of my teachers are in their mid 80s. Okay. Obviously Kichido Sensei, uh, Sugino Sensei from Katori Shinto-Ryu, I think is going to be 86 or 87. Um, the last time I was with him was a few years ago, and he said to me, every time I would see him, he'd say, "Don't stop moving." That's what he'd say to me. And
That's that's it.
yeah, and that's what he'd say. He'd say, "Michael, do not stop moving. Yeah, you just keep doing it. You come out like I say to my wife, there's days I wake up where I'm hurting and I just feel beat up. I probably overdid it the day before. And for a second, I say to myself, maybe today I'll take a break. And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, bullshit. No,
Yeah.
get your ass out there. Even if you just do a light workout, but get out there and do something. And like you, I do kettlebell 2 or 3 times a week. I'm doing, the other thing people don't realize, which I try to tell people with the Kobudo, when you do all these different Kobudo weapons, I mean, you're using so many different muscles
Yeah.
and
I
not
tell them it's
big
like weight.
muscles.
I tell people it's like weight training.
Yeah, and you're doing these using small muscles because, like, when you use the twifa, it's the certain muscles in the hand. When you use the sai, kama, it's everything's different. And I tell people it's so healthy for the body. I mean, I had a senior karate sensei one time say to me, "Why do you waste your time doing that kobudo? How does it benefit your karate?" And I said to him, I said, "Well, one, I think it benefits my karate a lot." I said, "But I'll give you two reasons. One, it keeps me incredibly physically fit. One. Two, it's really fun."
It is
And
fun.
I got to be honest, a lot of martial arts guys, and look, we're two guys that engaged in life and death combat, all kinds of crazy shit. We could sit here and swap stories that people's hair would probably be getting gray listening to us, right? So if anyone should take the self-defense aspect crazy serious, it's us. And I do. I do. I'm
Yes,
sure
I
you
do
do
too.
too.
I'm
But
sure that's why I continued. I continued as hard as I did
right,
because I was a cop. I was on the
right,
street.
right. But again, I think it's also got to be fun. If
I have
people are
more
coming,
fun doing my Kobudo than I do my karate anymore. I love my Kobudo days a little more. I have more fun doing it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like even though in the Chinese art I do, Chen style Tai Chi Chuan, we have a straight sword form and a broadsword form. And they're athletic. You're doing some jumps and spins and stuff. And I'm just like, okay, as long as I can keep doing that, that's pretty good. And it's good for your legs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think the cross training is a big deal. And going back to your levels of application and stuff, I feel it's the same way with the kata. Like, I tell people all the time, like the first time I went to Okinawa and I did Seisan, Kichido Sensei asked me why I was doing kata like a white belt. And he showed me a different way to do Seisan, a couple of different points on Seisan. I was like, okay, wait a second. And then he showed me some stuff on other kata. And I've gone even further with it. One of the things Van Gilson said to me at one of my seminars, he came, I was already heavily involved in the Chinese arts because I also do Shihei Kwan Kung Fu, which is feeding crane Kung Fu with the headmaster from Taiwan. I've been a long time student of that. And Van Gilson at the end of my seminar, because I bring up a lot of Chinese concepts. And I'm like, not for nothing, guys, but we say Okinawan karate has Chinese influence, but I'm not seeing it. Like, I don't see it anymore. Like, even in Okinawa now, the complaint is a lot of the karate starting to look like Shotokan, right? Because
Yeah.
they're going Japanese. And my karate is different. It's gone more Chinese, right? And Van Gilson came up to me at the end of the seminar and he says, Mike, I got to tell you, we should have done what you did. And I said, what's that? Because I didn't even know what he meant, right? He goes, we should have looked at China. He says, I looked at other Okinawan masters, but seeing what you're teaching and certain concepts you're teaching, he says, it makes so much sense. And they're just not talking about that stuff on Okinawa anymore. And I said, yeah. So I've incorporated that into my training, right? And you know, it's funny, like,
I got a Tai Chi the guy that comes, he writes books. And so he wrote one on Michigan Isshin-Ryu. And then he's going to write a part two. And he's trained over in Europe a lot,
okay,
Tai Chi. And so, he'd come into the dojo and talk, and before you know, it's getting late, and then we get on the floor. He's showing me this. I'm going, we have the same thing in Isshin-Ryu, but we do it this way. And
right.
we start exchanging technique, and it was actually fun to see his method of what we did.
So there seems to be a link between the Chen style and Okinawan karate. Do you have the Wu Beiji, the white cover Bubishi book, the hardcover
Yes.
one? Yeah. So he talks about it in there. Um, I've showed some moves like from Kusan Ku to my Taiji master, who's he's crazy famous and he's one of the top Taiji masters in the world and his physical ability. I've had a couple of senior Isshinryu guys come to his seminars. They can't even comprehend what he can do physically. But I showed him some moves and he goes, "Oh, that looks just like that move in the Taiji form." He goes, "Oh, that look." So last time he was here, he said to me, "I want you to create a form. I want you to create a form where you combine Taiji and karate." So I literally thought he was joking. I said, what? What are you talking about? Me create a form. He goes, no, I want you to create a form where you combine Taiji and karate. You're the only guy that can do it because you're senior in both. I said, really? He goes, yeah. I said, all right, maybe I'll do it. So it's been percolating, but I haven't really started, right? But I think there's a serious link between China and the Okinawan arts. I just think, like my Shihei Kwan master said to me, he goes, we know karate had the power, but they don't have it. A lot of them don't have it anymore. And I said, yeah, well, I said, sport. I mean, listen, karate in Okinawa now, it's all about sport.
Oh
There's
yeah. Oh
virtually
yeah.
no one doing it from a life protection art, right? In the West, we are, but there, they're not, right? And I also said World War II, I think, hurt karate. Obviously, we lost a lot of masters, a lot of documentation, various things, right? So, but I find it funny because, like, when I came out with my DVD series doing the bunkai I was doing, Evinkla Sensei referred to it as Calandra, right? That's not Isshinryu, right? And I literally responded. I said to him, I said, well, with all due respect, if you think the bunkai, you first generation guys, students, actually works, if that stuff you guys are showing is real stuff and real fighting stuff, you're sadly mistaken. It's not, right? And the funny
But
thing
I'm a little
was,
old school when it comes to that in terms of I would agree to him. I know there's a guy I've seen, and Sherman Harold gave me a video. He didn't have any videos out, and he accommodates his Isshin katas to adapt his own application bunkai. And to me, he's changed so much. And I've talked to him about it. I said, "You're not really doing Isshin anymore.
well,
You're
is he
doing."
changing his kata to make
Oh
it
yeah,
make it reflect the bunkai?
yes,
Yeah, see, that's the mistake. You
absolutely.
can't do that. Yeah, you
No,
can't do that. So I'll tell you what my Kobudo master told me, right? I was doing a move in one of the kata a certain way, which was more combative in nature. Let's just say that. As soon as I did it, he said, choto mate, right? And I was like, uh-oh, right? And he says, no, it's like this. This part is done slow, right? And he said to me, never put fighting in the kata, put kata in the fight, right? And I know in the Chinese arts, the fighting move doesn't have to look exactly like the move in the form. You can adapt it, right? And change it, but you can't change the form.
right.
So, yeah, you're right. You can't once you start changing the kata to reflect your bunkai,
Yeah.
it becomes a mess. It's a mess.
You know what Sherman Harris say? You're not authorized to change the kata.
And again, like, I think
I don't care that people do that, but if it
people
starts
can
to
do
look
whatever they want.
complete, if it starts to look completely like your own way, then call it your groove.
Right. Right.
I don't care.
What
It
was
doesn't.
funny was I sent the first DVD to Kichido Sensei in Okinawa because I didn't know how he was going to react. And I called him and he got on the phone. And of course, the first few minutes was all about family and how I'm doing, how he's doing, what's going on, how's police work. And then I said, did you get the DVD? He goes, oh, yeah. I said, how was it? He goes, oh, it was wonderful. Shows Isshin-Ryu real, like, fighting art. It's very powerful. You make more. I said, yes, Sensei, it's okay because, I know a lot of the Okinawans don't do fighting techniques like that. He goes, no, no, you make more. It makes Isshin-Ryu look great. So I always laugh because I said, here's the headmaster, the son of Tatsuo, saying he loved it. But some of the first generation guys don't. But I remember asking some first generation guys, I showed them a bunkai that a Goju sensei had showed me. And I said, did Tatsuo ever show you anything like this? And they said, of course. And my response was, well, when are you going to show it to us? I mean, you're already teaching 30 years and you haven't showed that to anybody. And I knew it was bullshit that they'd never learn that. I mean, look, they weren't there long enough to learn that kind of stuff.
No.
It's just as simple as that. It's not, again, it's not a knock on them. My problem is I would say 95% of Isshin-Ryu people are stuck, meaning there's no advancement in ability. They're just doing everything like what Master Shimbuku said to me. Why does your kata look like a white belt? I mean, I still see first generation guys stack their hands every time they do seisan, do all these movements the same way. And, I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm hoping some people start to realize, because I think one of the things
when you start to realize that is when you start training with other people, then you start, they start influencing you a little bit. Right. And then you start going, oh yeah, okay.
Right.
This is something here I can put in my Isshin-Ryu. I can make my Isshin-Ryu better.
So when I was learning feeding crane, so feeding crane has sanshin. Looks nothing like our sanshin. It doesn't even look like the Wichiru sanshin, but it's power, generating power. So the teacher taught us a way to practice the forms. He says, oh, you can practice the forms like this. It's to create short distance power. As soon as he said that, I said, oh, you know what? That'd be a good way to practice the Isshin-Ryu sanshin too. So the next year or 2 years later, he comes back to my school in New York. I said, hey, Shifu, can I show you something? He goes, yeah. So he's seen the karate sanshin, right? So I start doing the Isshin-Ryu sanshin, and I start doing it with the short distance power at the end of the move. And he looks at me and goes, oh, he says, you're too smart. He says, you're too smart, right? So, like I tell people, I have like 3 or 4 different ways I practice sanshin because I've got all these different influences,
And,
yeah.
it's good. What I don't like is there's some people that are made like amazing in all these different arts, but when somebody criticizes them for maybe having an influence their main art, like Isshin-Ryu, they'll get criticized and then they'll stop doing it. Yeah. And it's like, why? I mean, everything that I do and have done in the martial arts influences my Isshin-Ryu, and it should. I got a sword guy that teaches Iaido in my school. I don't do it, but a lot of his weapons katas are just like a sword draw. It's too high.
Right.
When he's coming up with a backhanded bow strike, and I'm like, hey, lower that a little bit.
Right.
And I'm like, where did you get that? Then I go, oh, that's what Iaido does,
Right.
And so he's influenced by his Iaido, which is fine.
And again, when we look at all the different famous masters, show me one that only trained with one person.
Oh, I know.
You're not going to find it. You're just not. I mean, it's as simple. I don't know. Do you follow guys like Motobu Naoki?
No.
Okay, so Motobu Naoki is the grandson of Choki Motobu. He's Motobu's grandson.
Mm-hmm.
And something came up where someone suggested Tatsuo was training with had trained with Choyu Motobu, Choki's older brother. I had never heard that.
Cecil told us that.
What was that?
Cecil told us that.
Yeah, well, I reached out to the grandson. And the grandson said, no. He says, never trained with Choyu, but I've seen a ton of documentation that he trained with Choki Motobu. So Tatsuo trained with Choki, he never trained with Choyu. And this is from the grandson, who's, I'm telling you, he's got a blog. I follow his Patreon. He's doing tremendous research. There's so much research going on now in Okinawan karate. It's literally crazy. Have you read the biographies of Anko Itosu by Feldman or
yes.
the one on Yabukensu?
Yep.
I mean, you look at those works. I mean, look, considering the fact that there's no original sources still available, really, except for newspaper articles and a few other things. But the research that's going into some of these books is it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's getting much more in depth, much deeper dive into.
And there's one coming out on Miyagi. There's one coming out on Miyagi. So, I mean, the guy that's writing that one, he told me, one of the things that's happening with this is, I wasn't thinking about it, right? So what I did was I did a book review because I'm looking for stuff, right? I start doing this dopey podcast, and now I'm like, oh my God, people are actually watching it. So now I got to come up with topics every week. I do it once a week, right? So I do a book review because I really like the book, right? It's what you call translated by Mario McKenna. It's Morinobu Itomen, right? And great book, right? I do that, and now McCarthy was coming out with his book on Keon. I said, "Hey, come on the podcast. I'll interview you. We'll promote the book." Well, then I realized none of these martial arts authors have any place to promote their books. So a lot of them come on now. So it's great, and they get to promote their books. And I get people people that watch the podcast complain to me. They say, "Stop having on these authors. You're costing me a lot of money," right? Because people are buying the books, right? But the books that are coming out are so much better researched than like
Yeah.
the books we had available when we first started.
Oh yeah,
Right? Oh
definitely.
my God, like these books are phenomenal.
You know Scott Mertz, don't you?
Sure, Sky, I spent time with Mertz on Okinawa.
Yeah,
So,
we he had an interesting back at God a few years back. Him and I had an interesting conversation about Tatsuo's connection to Miyagi, and I've asked Sensei Tokumura about this, and he said, "I said, well, how did he get to Naha?" He said, "Horse cart." I'm like, "Horse cart,
no,
horse cart." So,
train.
well, listen to this though. There's some extra here that Mertz in this conversation led to, which makes more sense. So, uh, the trains were all bombed out at a certain point.
Right,
And,
right, during the war. Right, right.
and so actually, Mertz found an old map of the train system, and it kind of had a stopping point at Urasoy. And well, maybe, just maybe, Tatsuo took a horse cart to Urasoy and used one of those crank things down the rail
Could
to get
be.
to Naha. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then his teacher uh, said, you know that Miyagi lived in Taba uh, after the war.
Right,
And I've been to the house because it's right across from Vicula's mother-in-law's house.
right.
I was at the house, and he said my teacher would go to there and practice with Miyagi, and he remembers Tatsu being there. And I said, like it was epiphany.
Now
Would he go all the way?
that's pre-war, right?
Yeah. No,
Pre-war.
yeah, that's after the war.
Oh, it's post-war. Okay. Because
So
like got
post-war,
go ahead.
he would go over to that house. So what better thing? He's 2 miles away from Taba.
Right.
Again, it's a lot more makes more sense that he went there to train than going all the way to Naha, even though Sensei tells me, oh yeah, Miyazato Ichi remembers him coming in with a small boy. And I'm like, I don't know, man. That's a
Yeah.
long way.
I know Andreas Quast made a few suggestions, which I thought were rather interesting. One, they were the guys, the bunch of those guys brought up the light rail line when they said, "Oh, there's no way Tatsuo could have made those trips to Naha." And they said, "Well, pre-war, there was multiple light rail lines. He 100% could have gone, right?" And then Andreas Quast raised the thing that our version of Seiyuchin may be the version that Miyagi was teaching when Tatsuo learned it from him. And again, of course, other guys poo-poo it because it's Isshinryu, and obviously Isshinryu, Tatsuo changed everything, right, according to them. But then I say, well, how come he didn't change Sanshin? So he learned Sanshin from Miyagi too, right? That he didn't change, but Seiyuchin he made all kinds of major changes, right? And so that was
But you
one
know
of
what they
the
say in Okinawa about his Seiunchin? He forgot it.
yeah,
Forgot the kata.
yeah, I don't know if I'm buying that because the other thing that's come out about Seiyuchin is that Kanro Higiona didn't teach Seiyuchin. So nobody right now knows where Seiyuchin came from. They know it's a Ryukyu era kingdom kata. They know that. But Naoki just wrote a big article on it. They can't trace it back to like who learned it first. Like, I mean, it's around early. I mean, we've got Kenwa Mabuni doing it in his book in 34 or whatever it was. But again, I don't know. And I'm not saying that that's the fact, but I know I trained with a 10th Dan in Goju, and he thought going straighter like we do instead of on the 45s in the first three moves. He said that made more sense to him than going on those angles. He says, I never understood why we go on those angles in Seiyuchin and
You
Goju.
know what I do? I changed it because of shoulder issues and all sorts of injuries. Um, when you're trying to do techniques like we do in the beginning three in Seiyunchin kata on a straight line, you can't reach that opponent, not
Right,
within the embusen of the kata.
right,
So what I did to accommodate the way Goju does it, my target is off to the angle about 30 degrees, not on the straight line. So
right.
I actually adapt their kind of stance. And I stay linear, but then my opponent is more off to like the 30-degree angle.
Well, the other thing is, if you watch the one video I have up of Tatsuo where it's black and white and he does part of Seisan, he does all of Seiyuchin, and he does a half, I think half in the Hanchi. If you look close at his feet when he's doing Seiyuchin, the rear foot is slightly offline from the front foot. So he's not, both feet are not 100% on a straight line. He's slightly off. He's just not as dramatically off as the Goju guys are, you
I
know?
do all my Isshinryu bow like that. And I didn't realize I was
Yeah.
until somebody, a higher Dan, said, "Hey, Sensei, what are you doing when you're doing a bow strike?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Do bow strike." So I do a nuki, and he goes, "You're not on a straight line." I go, "No, I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
never. I can't get full extension with my shoulder that way."
Yeah. Matayoshi Kobudo teaches the foot is off. The rear foot's offline. They're not
Yeah,
on a
that's
straight
what
line.
I do that
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
naturally.
So I do it
Oh,
in Isshinryu too. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing with Isshinryu, right? Something that Andreas Quast brought up. Ryukyu Kobudo, which is the Taira lineage, obviously. They kind of lost Shishi no Kun and Arashi because they made them like seventh Dan kata. And how many people make seventh Dan?
yeah.
And Andreas was saying they had to actually relearn them. And he goes, "You Isshinryu guys have been practicing those the whole time. And so you guys never lost it. And I mentioned to someone the other day, I said, I see so much weird stuff going on with the Isshin Kata. And again, slight variations, no one cares about. If it's a small variation, so what? Tomato, tomato, two-way, okay, Okinawa, right? But you've seen some weird stuff, like
Oh yeah.
crazy shit, okay? And I'm like,
You ever been down to the Isshinryu Hall of Fame?
no,
You see some really bizarre things going on.
yeah.
I was
So,
down there. I went down there in July, and there's not a lot of variants, but there are some that you go, "What the heck was that?"
right.
And um, Dan Holloway, Dan Holloway.
Yeah,
So Danny, he trains at Kobudo, my dojo, and he's on the board down there. And I was asking him, what do you tell the judges? I mean, and he goes, "We tell them to try to ignore, the differences in kata you're going to see. Just go from the basics of stance and power
right.
and blah blah blah." But some of the stuff was a little
Well,
strange.
my thing is that's okay for an open tournament. But if it's an Isshinryu tournament, there should
Yeah,
be a standard, right? Like I'll give you the one example. You know where they do this thing in Sun Tzu where they do this huge big wind up thing and they punch and draw back, right? And we're in an IWK tournament and certain senseis, students are doing that. And Kichido Sensei turns to me and literally goes, "This is exactly what he said to me." He says, "Michael, who throws a punch like this?"
no,
Right? And again, the common sense, right? Here's the headmaster, and he's putting the perfect question, right? Who throws a punch like that, right? And so yeah, that's the thing. And the thing that bothers me is we're so lucky in Isshinryu, and we don't realize sometimes how lucky we are. We have a ton of video of the founder. Okay, now are all the performances great? No. A lot of times he's walking through it. But you know what? We might be better off with that because we can see what the hell he's doing. His movements are all natural. There's no wackiness, right? Um, you look at videos of Advincula Sensei, Sherman Harold, Harold Mitchum, all these first generation guys doing kata. Um, there's no wackiness.
no, no.
The movements are simple, natural, right? And then I look at the modern Isshinryu guys, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like when I was in Okinawa in December, I met a whole bunch of Westerners there that are teaching. So there's a lot of Westerners teaching karate now in Okinawa, karate and Kobudo. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen that many Westerners teaching on Okinawa. So a lot of guys watched the podcast, and they were all thanking me. Oh, please keep it going. You're doing a lot for traditional martial arts. You're the only real traditional martial arts podcast out there. I said, well, I'm going to try, right? Um, but they were asking me. They said, we see other Isshinryu guys and how they move, and we see how you move, and you're so much more relaxed and smooth, and your power and speed. I go, listen, I don't know what to tell you. Um, but again, I think I don't know how to try to get it back. But like you said, there's a lot of weirdness going on.
Well, I had to do that, when I started learning with the Vicula, up here they were doing Ungi's way, a
Okay.
lot of motion, a lot of movement, and so I had to, and I liked it better. I had to change my katas to be, like economy of motion, like a Vicula
Right.
talks about,
Right.
and I keep it to this day. And I've talked to, I go visit Tom Lewis,
Uh,
Wyoming every year, and we just talk karate. He doesn't really train much anymore. We just talk a lot of karate, hang out. And,
Now he trained
yeah,
with Tatsuo, right?
yes, he did.
Yeah, he
He
might
did
be a
one
guy.
tour.
I should reach out to him, see if he wants to
You
come on the
should.
podcast. I will. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I
I
reached
mean,
out to,
I could set it up for you. I can,
I
he's
think
got
I'm
some.
friends with him on Facebook.
I'm sure you are.
I reached out for Robert Teller. I want Robert Teller to come on the podcast. I just read his book. I reached out. I didn't get a return. I'm going to reach out again.
But
So,
I talked to him, and he starts seeing what like Avicula did and Mitchum did, because he was real close to Mitchum.
right.
And he said, Jeff, he said, when I came back, all I knew was, we went to tournaments, and you seen things in tournaments where guys were just kind of doing it, making it up their own shit, and then we'd bring Ungi in, and he would show differently. And he said, I regret to this day I did not keep the katas my teacher taught me. He says, I regret that hugely. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you had katas that looked just like his.
So 3 years ago, I get a package in the mail from Kichiro Sensei. So I open it up. It's a DVD, and it's a DVD of him doing all the Isshinryu kata. The only one he's not doing is Hamahiga, but he doesn't do Kian no Sai because most people in Isshinryu don't do Kian no Sai anymore. But he does Kusanku. He does all the weapons kata, all the hand kata. At the time, he's around 80. Okay, he's around 80. When I show people his video, they're like, "There's no way there's no way that guy's 80." I'm like, "He's 80 years old." He did each kata one right after the other with power. And again, he's 80. I mean, I'm hoping I'm still here when I'm 80. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I look at him, right? And I just, just impressive as hell. So obviously, when I looked, what did I look for? What do we always look for? Oh, am I doing it the way he's doing it? Or is he doing it like his father did it, right? And I've got to say, 99% of how his father's doing it. Like I'll give you one example, and he's been done this for a long time. So the rising elbow in Seiyuchin,
Yeah.
he does the elbow like this in Seiyuchin. Again, to me, that's a tomato thing. Like I don't get hung up on that, right? But when I got it, I was excited, right? And so again, here's the son of the founder, and I'm looking at the kata, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much the way I'm doing it. And that's pretty much the way the real Isshinryu guys are doing it, not the guys that are making changes for the sake of making changes.
Did you
Or
ever
because
get to a point in your Isshinryu career? Because I know I was there, where you just wanted to give up Isshinryu.
so I never got to the point of giving up Isshinryu. I would say I got to the point of where I wasn't too interested in interacting with a lot of Isshinryu people. And it's funny because I probably have closer friends in Isshinryu that are not in the IWK, or maybe in the IWK, but not, they're maybe members, but haven't received Dan rank from Sensei. I've always gotten along really good with the Nagel group. Obviously, Sherman. John Kirk is another guy I want to have on the podcast.
Yeah,
So,
he'd be a good guy.
yeah, he's another guy I want to get on. I want to start having a few more Isshinryu guys on. So, yeah.
I'll
But
tell you a great line I got from Roy Osborne. This day and age of instructors want to steal students, kind of. If you even like bend to like, I'm gonna get out of Isshinryu. Oh, come my way.
right,
Let's
right,
do
right,
this.
right, right.
Well, I had already been trained with Roy, and when I went into the Advicula area of my career, I told him, I said, Sensei, I said, if I don't see in AJ Advicula what I think first generation real Tatsu's Isshin-Ryu should be, then I'm not gonna do Isshin-Ryu. I'm just gonna do my katas. I'm gonna bone block, twist punch, and call Okinawa Te.
Right.
And he didn't say come over to Shirinji. All
Right.
he said was, and this was classic. I still remember, to this day. He said, "You do what you want, but I'll tell you something. You will always be Isshin-Ryu in your heart." I was like, "Whoa."
So you know what I say, Jeff? I get asked all the time, so I got this promotion from Okinawa, right? I got promoted 10th Dan by Kichiro, which again, I tell people, I never in a million years that I think that would have ever happened, right? But then I go to Okinawa, and McCarthy and Scott Mertz are telling me how to them in Okinawa it's a really big deal. So I'm looking at them because I don't know why it's a big deal. Like again, like I say, I've got the letter that he sent me when he promoted me to 10th Dan hanging up over there, and I've got the certificate. And the letter is way cooler than the certificate. The
Well, I think
letter is way
as you
cooler.
know, the older we got, and when ranks started coming around, I mean, it wasn't like, I don't want to say you don't care about it, because
Well,
out of respect you do care, but it wasn't like when you were young, go, wow, man, this is so
oh
great,
yeah,
this is so
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I mean, I got two night dons within a year, one in
Right,
Tokushin-Ryu and one in Isshin-Ryu,
right.
and I was just like, everybody's asking me these questions. I'm like, to me, it's another day in the dojo. I said
Yeah,
it didn't change
all it is
anything.
an attaboy. That's really
Didn't
all
change
it is.
anything I did or
Yeah,
do. So
right.
yeah, I appreciate it from the groups that gave it to me.
Yes. They explained to me, McCarthy and Mertz explained to me in Okinawa, it wasn't just them, a couple other guys too, that when they saw I got promoted, one, they're like, well, it's in the lineage, right? So it's Kion, Tatsuo, Kichiro Yu. He goes, even in Okinawa now, most people getting promoted to 10th Dan get promoted by an umbrella organization.
Yeah.
They said, so that wasn't the case with your promotion. So I hadn't thought of it that way, but I was like, oh, okay, I could see your point. And then the other thing they said was, so one, you get promoted in the lineage, and also you're a Westerner. And,
And I know of people that go and shop for their 10th on.
oh, there's somebody on Okinawa selling them. I got there, and one of them joked with me and said, hey, Mike, we know you got 1/10 Dan. Do you want another one? And I kind of made a face. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, we'll take you over to so-and-so's dojo. It's like a menu. It's $100 a Dan. So if you think they're not doing it too, they're doing it too.
Exactly.
And so yeah, so that's what I think. That's why there's a lot of shenanigans going on. And now with the fact that Okinawan karate is all about tourism. I mean, they've got karate
Oh yeah.
tourism offices over there.
Yeah, I saw
So,
that.
and look, whatever will keep it going, it's great. But like I told the guys over there, I just wish, why can't they do sport and do self-defense? Like, why? Why not? Why can't you do that? Why can't you have both in the dojo? And I said to him, I said, Tatsuo had knife defenses, Tatsuo had ground fighting, but I don't see anybody in Okinawa doing ground fighting or knife defense. When do you see it? The answer is you don't, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like,
I remember Azo Shimbuku used to advertise jujitsu.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that.
Well, that's another thing. That's another thing that's, it seems like there's also a serious link to Japanese jiu-jitsu with Okinawan karate now. They're just doing a lot of research, and they're finding a lot of different things. That's why I like having the researchers on, because like I joke and say, I'm just the armchair guy, right? But I get one of these guys on. I mean, these guys, and the funny thing is then like they don't do Isshin-Ryu necessarily, but Isshin-Ryu will come up obviously because of me. And then, the interview will be over, and 2 days later, I'll get a message from one of them saying, hey, I found this thing on Tatsuo, or I looked this up in Tatsuo. Um, like when I was in Okinawa at the Kaikon, it says Tatsuo study with Miyagi first. It
Yeah, I
says
saw
that
that.
on Tatsuo's plaque. And McCarthy was with me at Kichiro's house. And we asked him, and Kichiro just laughed. He laughed. He says, I don't think so. Right.
Yeah,
And then
I
when I
saw
was
that
there,
too.
yeah. And then when I was there with Kichiro, I asked Kichiro if he trained with Taira Sensei with Tatsuo. And he says, of course, Michael. He's teaching my father. I'm standing right there. So, so it's just interesting, all the stuff that's going on. But listen, I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, it was fun, Mike.
And you think of anybody else that might want to come on? Doesn't even have to be Isshinryu. I mean, I like to do all
I'll let
different
you
kinds
know.
of arts.
Tom Lewis, Tom Lewis would be a good guy. Dan Holloway would be a good guy. He
Okay.
trained under Mitchum and Sherman Harrell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Again,
he's
and
got that
I'm gonna
combination.
talk to Kirker. I like to spread the Isshinryu guys out a little bit. I'll probably look to do Tom first because Tom's probably a little older, right?
Yeah, he's 86,
Yeah.
but
So
he's
I'll
sharp
try.
as a tack.
Yeah, I'll
Sharp
get to
as a
him
tack.
first. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll reach out to him and but yeah, I appreciate you coming on and maybe we'll do it again in the future. If anything comes up, something you want to talk about, let me know. You
Okay.
know. If you're doing an
Thank you, Mike.
event, you want me to publicize it, I mean, shortly there'll be 18,000 subscribers to this channel. I can do a message blast to all of them, whether, if you're doing a seminar or something you want me to put out for you, just let me know. I have no
Okay,
problem doing
appreciate it.
it. All right?
Thanks for
All
asking.
right, Jeff. Good talking to you.
Hopefully we'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
You too.
Hope you enjoyed that interview with Jeff Perkins. Interesting to see his journey in Isshin-Ryu and martial arts in general and how it continues. It's important to talk to senior people. I'm hoping to speak to some more senior people in the Okinawan arts. If anybody has any suggestions as to someone I should interview, please reach out via email. My email's all over the place. You can find it on the Seishinkan West webpage. Shoot me a direct message, and this way I can see if I think the person would be a good fit for the podcast. All right. So again, please click the like, share, and subscribe button. Appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Take care.